Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
Well, welcome home, family.
Welcome home,
It's
fam.
your mom and dad. Yes. And I already have a beef to start, okay?
Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Happy Wednesday. It's beef time because let me tell you what. We started watching Love is Blind Season 5, recapping episodes 1 through 4 today, Avi. And the immediate beginning of Season 5, Episode 1, Nick and Vanessa Lachey walk out and everyone in the cast starts calling them mom and dad.
Dude, that's some
and
bullshit.
I say, how dare all of you, okay?
And then they're like, we're the family or whatever, you know? And it's just like, dude, bullshit. Take your, take our branding like that without saying a word.
That's not like a common thing to say mom and dad or anything.
And also, my thing is this. They don't deserve to be called that.
Like straight up.
They're more like mean friends, Like the way that they acted during that, like during like the tell-alls or reunions was so mean and so vindictive and so like mean friends vibe that don't have your back when you're like turned away. So like they are not mom and dad. They are the meanies. You know what I mean? They're rude people, not mom and dad.
Creative. I know, I'm like, listen, I understand.
You guys don't steal that either. The meanies, okay?
Don't steal the meanies. Listen, I understand that we don't have the branding for mom and dad, and it's a common thing to say with the youth of today. But I agree with you. I was like, Nick and Vanessa, mom and dad, you see them for 2 seconds through this entire 8-week-long process that you all go through. You all know that you never see Nick and Vanessa. And I was also thinking about, so, that whole petition started after the reunion and everything with Nick and Vanessa, that people were like, we don't want them as the hosts anymore.
Are they? I'm so confused on even why they are.
Well, here's the thing, though. They filmed this before the petition started. They filmed this before they had the tell-all, the reunion at the very end, and then everyone was like, Vanessa with all the inappropriate baby questions and everything that went down. That all happened. The filming of this happened before.
You better keep that ring.
Yeah.
Like, what? Okay. Weird. Dude, unlikable as it gets, unfortunately. So continue.
So they're bound to be the hosts of this season. So we all knew that was coming. But my question is this. Does Love is Blind dare do the live reunion once again with Nick and Vanessa after the fiasco that was last year? I want to say they're not going to because it was an uproar of the century. Right. And then also they had all those live issues where it didn't go live for, hours and people were waiting. I think they're going to do it again.
They should. I mean, here's the reality. It's annoying and they're very unlikable, but it's good TV. You know what I mean?
It was the thing.
Like it made us all talk and made everyone angry and frustrated and annoyed, and that brought people together. And so bringing people together is important.
Oh, that's very true. I was like, there's the part of me that's like, there's no way they're going to do it again. But then I'm like, I feel like they just have to now because now it's just lore of the franchise where it's like, remember the reunion of 2022, or 2023 or whatever, and Vanessa season 4, Nick season 4. It's lore. So now they have to do it again.
He's definitely hoping that somehow she can't do it.
100%.
Because he seems like he's always trying to be like, yeah, totally, babe. Like, oh God, we're going to pay for this. Because she's the one saying all the crazy stuff. And he just kind of sits there and goes, oh, wow, interesting. You know what I mean? Because he has that look of like, please don't say anything. Please don't say anything. He's like,
oh God, here we go.
But it's also such a weird thing to me when they pick hosts like this in shows. Because it's like Nick and Vanessa Lachey, like that was an option and they thought this is a good move. Like I just am always confused on like either pick someone that we all know and care about or to pick a no-namer who's like an interesting person. But this kind of weird like D-level celebrity from 2001 as like is that a draw? Like are people like, oh my God, I'm such a massive fan of those two. Well, now I'll tune in. You know what I mean? Like it's such a strange thing where people end up in hosting gigs. Like people who used to have some level of fame 20 years ago and then they end up hosting some random show. Well, like it's so strange to me.
I know that they've done hosting in the past, but my thing is always like this. Listen, I understand you want the quote unquote celebrity draw, but there are network television. There are so many hopefuls out there, incredible talents who would be amazing hosts.
I know.
Okay, let them have the chance. Let them have a shot at it. You know, a no name. Come on, it'd be perfect.
And I also think hosting is like a skill.
Oh, it's a massive skill.
It's like our bud Mark Wahlberg. It's like he was a host for years. He did many shows, so that him ending up on Temptation Island makes sense. He's skilled at it, as opposed to like, I'm a general, D-list like celebrity. I should do this hosting.
You're saying D-list and Nick and Vanessa are mad right now.
whatever. It's definitely not A or B or C. Okay, so do we want to go lower? I'm more saying like, they've been out of the limelight forever. It's just a strange thing to do hosting, and I don't understand even this. Like, there's no. Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange.
I hear you. Because
you see when someone's a good host, you're like, oh, they really add.
But host isn't even a factor, because we never see Nick or Vanessa. I mean, God bless. We can sometimes, be like, JP's never around. JP works his ass off in comparison. Nick and Vanessa, these were 4 episodes. We saw them for 20 seconds. And then, we'll see them at the beginning of Mexico for 20 seconds. And then they'll do the reunion.
Bringing that up, you think they could get someone of higher caliber then if they only need someone to show up for 2 hours for an entire season. Like, these think they could afford like someone major to come in for like 2 hours worth of filming.
Bring on Andy Cohen, baby. Come on now.
Exactly, like an Andy Cohen to come in and do an hour here, an hour there, and then you're done. It seems like they could afford it. I mean, the show's big, but anyway, it's Netflix, whatever.
Anywho, so that was the beef that I had starting out on this Wednesday. But I have to tell you all, we zipped through these. So we're going to be recapping episodes 1 through 4 today. Yes. It's the episodes that are out. On Friday, they have a few more episodes that come out. We'll recap those on Wednesday. But I was locked in. There were some twists
really good
in this one, and the preview for the upcoming episodes look wild.
Already really good.
Already really good. Already, I know I said this last year, and now I said it last year aside from Tiffany and Brett, because we all knew that they were destined to be together forever. But last year I said none of these couples are going to stay together except Tiffany and Brett. Like, all of them did. Yeah. But I'm going to make this statement right now. None of the couples are staying together.
No way.
None of them.
They're breaking up before the pod. I mean, like, before the even show begins.
It's going to be a short season, because they're going to have to like bring in people who were in the pods that didn't end up working and be like, hey, let's bring them in because we got to do something, because they're just not going to work.
This is by far the most drama pre-people even meeting we've ever seen, right?
I feel like
it's like the way everything went down. It's like it was so dramatic before we've even started the quote show, where like they actually start living together and figuring it all out.
And I think a lot of that has to do with producer play. Like,
sure.
You don't think producers knew that they were casting Uche and Lydia, who used to date? You don't think they knew that?
Of course, it was all orchestrated.
It's all part of the thing.
Is that like your old Italian gangster voice? You think the Godfather doesn't know what's happening?
No, if I'd be talking like this, I'd be using this type of voice. That's my secret. That's my alone.
That's your like, don't open your mouth but say something.
That's my alone in an escape room voice. Where I'm just like, you think that I don't know where that key is? Please.
By yourself?
You think that I didn't walk in here and suss out top to bottom, figure out? It's almost a little bit.
You walk into the 14-year-old at the desk and you're like, I know what's going on here.
There is a little bit.
What? I don't know. I get paid just to like let you weird lady in here. I don't know what. You don't think I know what the racket is?
There is a little bit of a Sebastian Maniscalco-ness to it, right? It's like, you don't think that I came in here and I right away saw the key?
Good news.
Anywho, I see what's going on, producers.
Of course.
And some of that producer play has been vocalized, potentially confirmed by Uche, actually. I have a lot of thoughts about it. We're going to get into
producers.
it.
This is real.
I'm going to get into it. But before we officially dive into the recap, just a quick reminder, everybody. Not that you've forgotten. But tomorrow, because this is coming out Wednesday, tomorrow we have the premiere of the Golden Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise.
Huge.
But of course, we're doing that. If you haven't checked out our cast bio episode, please do. That was super fun. for the Golden Bachelor. So that's going to be airing tomorrow, and we will be dropping our recap of both the Golden Bachelor and BIP on Monday morning.
Yes.
So that again is the schedule as of right now that we're going to be rolling with. It might shift if we're able to shift things around.
Yeah.
We'll let you know. But as of right now, because we will be recapping both Bachelor franchise shows, however you want to say it.
Bachelor Nation shows.
Bachelor Nation shows. It'll be dropping on Monday. And like I said, first half Golden Bachelor, second half BIP highlights, all of this. And then Love is Blind on Wednesdays. And then once Love is Blind is over, I think we're doing F-Boy Island. We're rolling.
Also, side note, before we move on.
Yep.
For the longest time, our call homes were about specific topics, but we do want to get back into you all sending in advice, advice topics. So just send in general advice.
Your questions. Or your advice. You can give us advice.
Send in advice for us. Send in questions for advice, because we'd love to hit those as well. So
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Want to get into this thing?
Let's start talking about it.
Okay.
So first and foremost, I want to say that obviously we ended on Will Milton and Lydia, like they're going to be meeting each other.
Yeah.
He did propose. We don't know how the meet's going to look, but officially we saw in the preview that we have, I think, only 3 couples.
Yeah.
Which is not a lot.
I'm confused by this, which means they're going to really press for hooking up and connecting after they get out.
Yes. Or for the drama after.
That's what I mean. They're going to try and really push like people getting together outside of the pods.
Correct.
They have to.
Correct. So as of right now, we have Milton and Lydia. We have JP and Taylor.
Yes.
And we have Izzy and Stacy. Those are our couples that are going to be going to their, honeymoon time in Mexico.
Yes.
We don't have a lot of couples.
No.
Going in.
No. It was going to be 4. We had a departure. I mean, we're getting into this.
Which I'm all about the departure, by the way.
Wild
Loved
move.
it.
Epic.
Loved it. Everything.
I feel like they showed quite a few people too who weren't being talked about. I feel like generally they show less of them, and then you just kind of randomly see a glimpse. But I feel like there was good 3 to 5 people that you kind of regularly would see around and be like, oh, they never even talked about them. So maybe they bring them back out.
And I will say this, I did watch the very beginning again, the first episode, and watched the intro preview into the first episode. And I was seeing a lot of Renee.
Oh, interesting.
Which I wanted more of Renee. Evan and I, the entire time, I was like, give us more Renee. Renee was like the teeny tiny blonde who was a veterinarian. She was doing splits in the pods.
She was like a party.
I loved her. She
has to be a part of it.
She has to be a part of it. She always had funny commentary. I was like, I need more Renee. Renee is very much kind of Paris Hilton energy, and I wanted more.
Yes. Big fan.
Okay, so since we're covering all 4 episodes, but all 4 of these episodes were in the pods, which I was excited about, because now we can kind of just go over, I think we go over all of our overall thoughts and the drama and all of this on the couples, the, love triangles.
Couples and people.
Yes, all of this. Okay. Well, let's start with everything that is Lydia.
Oh my goodness. She's, you know what she is? She's just like you lit a barbecue and next thing you know, your house is on fire. Like that's what she is as a person. It's just like, I thought we were barbecuing and next thing you know, you're running for your life. Like that is Lydia in a person.
Lydia.
She is so unhinged.
On 10.
Dude, she's so unhinged. It's incredible.
She makes incredible television.
Incredible.
And we start off with her in the pods and it's just immediately to everyone oh my God, we're perfect together. Oh my God, you do what? Oh my God, we're the same.
I mean, there is no one who falls in love quicker than her. I mean, she's in love with everyone or in love with no one and she's just all theatrics. I can't tell. But the juxtaposition between her falling for someone in 9 minutes and then getting broken up with and bawling like she's been dating the person for 6 years is next level, dude.
Next level, because it started with her and Izzy. So right off the top, she has her eyes on Izzy, and Izzy seems to be
he's the hot commodity.
He's the hot commodity of the house. It seems like everyone has the hots for Izzy right out the gate.
I mean, is it almost every single girl main character liked him, other than Aaliyah.
Yeah, true.
Right? So it was Stacy, Lydia, Johnie. Those were the
all,
three main ones, other than Aaliyah, and they all liked her.
And maybe
him.
even more of the women that we didn't know were like, Izzy's our top.
So they all chose him.
Yes.
And I agree. Like, without even seeing him, he's got the swagger. He's relaxed, but he's like, very curious. He's good at questions. He's good at communicating. He's good at being vulnerable. He's like...
He hit the pods with compliments right away.
Exactly.
He right away threw out to
voice.
Johnie later. He's like, oh my God, your voice is so hot. And she's like, have you said that to the other girls? And I did notice him saying that to the other girls.
He did. I mean, it's a line. What are you going to say? I mean, what does he have to work on? Your eye? No. You're beautiful. No. I mean, like, just your voice is the only thing
and
you have.
By the way, the voice compliment is... It's a great compliment.
It's a great compliment.
If I meet someone and they right away go, oh my God, I love your voice. I'm like, ooh, I'm
it's
feeling a little tingly.
It's a way of saying you're beautiful without seeing you. You know what I mean?
True.
So it's like...
But even if they see you and they say,
right.
oh my God, I love your voice. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel very powerful all of a sudden.
So Lydia to me is someone that like in real life you are having the best time with, but could twist and turn at any moment. With her and Izzy, she immediately fell in love. And then he was not into it right away. Like he had that classic like, oh yeah, that's cool that you like me, like very cool vibe. When someone's like, I like you a lot, and you're like, dope.
The opposite of what was going on in the pods was incredible when they were in the pods together, because she immediately, after maybe one round with him, was like, I just want to let you know, like, you are my forever. You are my king. We will do this. I can't wait to have so many children with you. It is going to be a forever and ever. We are each other's people. And he's sitting there just like this. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's been so nice to meet you. And she's just like, isn't it just like, we're so perfect, right? And he's like, it's been a pleasure meeting you.
Dude, there is nothing worse than someone you don't like telling you we're perfect together. That is... I got cringe from it through the TV. When someone kind of forces their view of your relationship on you, it's like, even if it's not a romantic thing, if it's like a friend and they're like, oh, we're just the best friends ever, aren't we? It's like, ooh.
And you're like, I thought we were just really starting to get to know each other.
And anyone who says that generally is not aware of the situation.
Yeah.
Anytime you announce to someone, I'm your best friend or we're best friends, it's because you're deep down sensing we're not best friends and I'm trying to push this over the finish line. That was Lydia's move across the board, whether it be a friendship with Aaliyah, whether it be this, that, and the other.
Yep. One of the most incredible lines to me, for myself personally, one of the most incredible Lydia lines was when they're in the pods and she's kind of like declaring her love to Izzy right out the gate, and he is clearly avoiding being, saying like absolutely not, but like trying to tiptoe around it. He starts to exit and she can't see him, obviously, so she's still sitting there and is like fully invested, and he's walking out the door and she goes, I hope to see you in my dreams. And he's like, okay, bye.
I hope to see you in my dreams is a wild thing to say to someone.
Lydia just gives me, I'm like, I just can picture Lydia looking out the car window when it's raining, full drama, like when she is feeling something. And I trust me, I see you in that way, Lydia. Like, I love the dramatics. I live for it. I feel it. But like when she's upset about something, she's going to go out in the rain and let it soak her and let her sob.
And think that there's someone filming it.
And it's very, like, where's the cameras?
Movie style.
It's always just like full 10 dramatics. And I mean, I love that. Like, and it's great television. But then, yes, he ends up breaking up with her.
And my favorite thing about her is when she cries, it's first of all like someone has, ruined her whole life. So it's not crying like some people got broken up with, didn't even cry. Some of the people that did get broken up with, it was like hard and they kind of teared. She cries, she wails.
She cries from her soul.
Yeah, and my favorite thing is that she cries and then she's looking up in the sky, like there's a camera on her.
She does cry into the sky a lot.
Yeah, crying up into the sky is very dramatic. And then also when she goes back into the room with all the other girls, she just goes, ah, ah, like everyone, like someone come over here. Like she definitely doesn't do the like Johnie does the opposite, where she kind of goes away and kind of cries by herself. Mm-hmm. Lydia's like, who's gonna come over here and help me and hug me and tell me it's gonna be okay? Because like the second she walks in, there's no tears, there's just volume, and then everyone comes, like she's kind of looking at people like, are you coming?
No, she's up against the wall,
and she does
just
the collapsing
melting
thing,
against
like she's
the
just
wall,
like,
just being like, my God.
Yeah, like my love's over, no one will love me ever. it's just epic,
So epic.
And then the same goes for her when she's comforting someone who's crying.
Yeah.
She suffocates almost to the point where they can't breathe. There was a moment when Aaliyah was crying when she tried to move Aaliyah onto a chair, but she stayed in her lap. So then Aaliyah had to be in a squat as she was walking to the next chair because Lydia was laying in her lap. She was doing the bosom thing where you shove someone's face in your chest, just shoving her, everything's gonna be okay. We are one unit. We are together. And it's just what is happening?
Which I had written down initially, and we'll get into it. But I had written down initially, I want Lydia as a friend. This is the type of person who it's when I am upset at someone, this woman's going to have my back.
Yeah,
she's going to ride so hard for me when I'm upset. She will literally smother me, which I love. She will smother me. She'll be let's spoon in bed.
Down on whatever you say. So if you're he was a jerk, well, he deserves to rot in hell forever. And it's just she definitely really makes you feel seen.
Yes.
You're that guy, he didn't even open the door for me. And she's well, at the door, smashes in his face. You know what I mean? She definitely goes all in on the thing.
It's full all in 1,000%. And like I said, I'm I would love this. I'm Lydia's the type of person that I'm I kind of had a hard day, and she's we're getting in bed, we're spooning, we're eating ice cream. Quit your job. We're watching. We're gonna figure out a new career while we simultaneously watch all these movies together. And I hold you while you weep. And guess what? Your weeping is my weep, and we will weep simultaneously. We will dry heave our chests together. I'm I'm into that now. Yes. Later in the episode, I have some questions.
We start to see the back end of that issue.
I have some questions about what the dynamic was going on with some of the secrets.
Yeah.
Even if it was fully producer motivated, I still have a question of the way in which things were handled.
Okay, so Milton.
So then she gets quote unquote, broken up with by Izzy. It's been 24 hours. Yeah. But then Milton comes in.
Yeah.
And family, when I tell you I'm obsessed with Milton.
Yeah.
Evan had to hear me lecturing him for 4 episodes straight about how obsessed I am with Milton.
He's unbelievably cute.
Milton, his
name matches his personality in a way that I've never seen.
It's perfect. He is simultaneously a scientific king, simultaneously handsome, simultaneously funny, and he dresses well.
He's simultaneously 8 years old and 56.
Yes, it's definitely.
You know what I mean? He's calm and collected and sweet and thoughtful, but also is I'm a little nervous getting into a relationship because how often will I be able to play my Wii with my friends?
Until 4 a.m.
And he says that to a 30-year-old woman who's he might be engaged to. It's epic. And his most favorite thing about Lydia is not her personality. It's that they'll be able to collect rocks together.
Well, so Lydia is a geologist and Milton is an engineer, but it seems
an amateur geologist.
He's involved. I think he said actually his engineering involves geology in some way.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, everyone in this show, for the most part, has incredible careers.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So
Everyone's
smart,
really
crushing it,
crazy.
High level education, incredible. Anyway, but Milton just comes in, and I just am obsessed with everything Milton does, everything Milton says, and he comes in, and when he finds out that Lydia is a geologist, this man is I will marry her immediately.
Well, he said it was super sexy that they could get rocks together and cut them down to 30 nanograms so that they could inspect them together under his microscope. And that was hot to him.
It was so hot to him.
You know what I mean?
And they were talking about going and using his polarized, he's I have a polarized microscope at home. And she's oh yeah, tell me more.
I don't think he ever even asked a question about her personality. It was just
not at the top.
It was just generally what type of rocks do you like?
He was just absolutely thrilled to have a partner in crime, a partner in rock. You know what I
Ooh,
mean? He
rock.
was absolutely thrilled to have a partner in rock. And here's the thing: when their dynamic first started, I was okay, there's definitely he's 24. Okay. Yeah. And we definitely see this later in the episode where he knows he probably shouldn't be getting engaged.
I mean, yes.
In this process. And he's like, I'm a big risk taker. And even as a big risk taker, I don't think I should take this risk.
In his
and Lydia's
concerns
like,
are my favorite.
Milton, do it. Milton, we're perfect together. Milton. Oh my God, Milton, we're perfect. Milton.
Yeah, and that's the classic thing. When you have other options that you're more excited about, you don't really care. And we see this all the time. And then the second that first option goes away, like that second option is like my true love. And that happens constantly. And I loved it because she was like, you're too young. I'm not really that into you. You're nerdy, blah, blah, blah. Izzy breaks up with her. And now she's just like, you are my husband and everything I've ever wanted in my life. Do it now. She did like the Dwight thing when he like tries to do a deal and he's like, do it now, do it, shake my hand, do
sign
it, sign it, do it right now. Like she forced him into being engaged to her.
When she revealed to him about the whole Uche X situation, there was a moment where he was silent for 3 minutes, and for 3 minutes she went, Milton, it's okay, Milton, we're gonna work this out together. Milton, talk to me, Milton, I'm here for you forever, Milton, you're the love of my life. And that is not an exaggeration.
No,
that is exact. And he was just sitting there quietly trying
like
to, the poor guy's
rocks.
trying to process. Yeah. He's trying to process what's going on. But I just want to say this about Milton. I think that he absolutely shouldn't have proposed. And I don't think he wanted to propose. I think he is a wonderful man. Mm-hmm. I'm obsessed that he is a Pokemon player, that he's obsessed with the rocks. I love that is like a thing for them. You know, they see a stalactite and they're like, ooh, baby. Like, you know, a practically pornography for them.
Yes.
Love it. Great. In a conversation that him and Lydia have later, he said a few things that like really hit me in like a green flag way. Yeah. And I think, again, he's 24. I think he needs to just go out into the world and meet the people IRL and live his life.
Like he was in college 2 years ago.
Yes. And you know, Lydia's 30 and it's like he needs to like, you know, I don't think that he should be in this situation right now. But so many green flags and so much maturity to me in when he was talking with Lydia and Lydia with her, oh my gods, and everything so, you know, animated and deep feelings. He said to her at one point, he said, I am not nearly as like emotionally connected as you are. And I think with us together, you'd be a really amazing mom. And I think that you would be a great example to me of growth and emotional connectivity. And I have to say, I was like, I appreciate the fact that he knows himself.
Yes.
And also is willing to right away put that out there and be like, yeah, I need to work on my emotional connectivity. And instead of looking at her like, oh my godness, is like, wow, it's a lot. He's like, you are so emotionally connected.
Yeah.
And I admire that.
Yeah.
And I loved that about Milton.
I love Milton. I like Lydia a lot too. It's just, I could not think of two people who should not be together more than those two. Like there's no way it survives a week because he is like, his interests are rocks and video games and hanging out and chilling. And she's like trying to get married. And like, you could just tell that he kind of like thought this would be a fun experiment. And she's like, this is my ticket to like get a husband.
Yes.
And they could not be, I mean, there's no world where they get outside of the pods and they have like chemistry that like connects to like romance and like getting each other. There's just no way. I feel like he's just so not ready for that and she is way too ready for it.
Can you imagine if they get out and we're like, wow.
They have like kids now and
they
stuff.
Like it's true love.
That would be insane. But you know.
But there was again when in that end portion when he proposed, it was like it could not have been a more like producers are telling me that I need to get engaged to this person. And this person is telling me over and over again how much we are meant to be together. And anything that Milton said, she'd be like, we could conquer that together, baby. The world is our oyster, baby. Like anything you say to me, baby, like I'm in there. I'll go to any country for you. I'll do anything for you. Life is an adventure, baby.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like, okay, I'm really trying to get out of this. But everything I say, and he was even blatantly being like, I don't think I want to. And she's like, we're meant to be. Say it with me together. We're meant to be.
Yeah, it was funny when he was like, I might move to like Japan or something, or I don't know what country he said. And she's
Argentina.
Like, yeah, and she's like, I'll move with you. And he's like, don't you work? She's like, I'll figure it out. Yeah. It's like, okay, that is a little red flag that like maybe You know, and it was funny though. He went from to before, and to wrap him up, the last thing he did before he got engaged to her, is he rubbed his face like, oh, he goes like, oh God.
He was literally rubbing his head was in his hands, and he was like, oh God, no.
Like, do you want to marry me? And she's like, I'm standing. I do. And she runs into the room with all the girls. She's like, I'm engaged.
At one point, she was like, I want you. And her body was up against the wall.
Yes.
And she's like, Milton, I want you. And he's like, you are so weird.
He didn't even stand up. He's like, you're weird.
But I have to say, to Lydia's credit, she's like, when he would say like you're weird, she would laugh. Like they did have a funny fun but together. They had fun together. They had a funny banter together, and I feel like they'd be really good friends.
100%.
Because when he would say certain things and she'd come out with a quip, he'd be like, that was so inappropriate to say at this time, and she'd be like, yeah, but you love that about me, right?
Yeah.
And like, oh my God. And they were fun. They were making me laugh.
My favorite thing though,
but like, shouldn't have gotten engaged.
Yes.
Maybe I'm wrong, but as far as
my
right
favorite
now,
bullshit moment with Milton though was when he goes, you know, I'm actually pretty reserved and kind of quiet and don't go out a lot. You know, everyone thinks that I'm just wild and that I'm like the life of the party, and it's just not true. And it's like no one thinks that, dude. No one thinks you're the life of the party and that you're wild at the clubs. Like, no.
But maybe with his group of friends, he's the party animal.
He's
you
like,
don't know.
Dude, this Pokemon's mental. Like, there's
like,
no
invite me to your Pokemon
dude.
Club, King. I am there, Milton. And the style. He's got great style, too.
He's just, I've never seen anyone so on the opposite page than the person he was talking to. He literally rubs his face like, okay, will you marry me? Like, could not have been more opposite of like the other two. Unbelievable. Like tears and joy and you know, and she's just like, do it now, sign the paper.
I cannot wait to see them united officially.
I can't wait till they see each other. And
I cannot wait to see, because I'm gonna tell you this right now, you know, Milton's tall. He's a tall man.
He is.
Lydia is going to run to him like she is seeing the first person that she's seen in 20 years.
Yeah.
She is going to run full deck speed, jump into his arms and be like making out with his neck. And she'll be like, my baby, my baby, my baby, my baby, my baby. And he'll be hands off and she'll be hanging on him. He'll just be like, Dad.
And he'll be like, cool.
I'm just gonna call it right 100%. Now. And she'll just tackle him, and then it'll be trying to get him to like roll on the ground together, and just be like, when he gets down on a knee to propose, like she'll definitely also get down on a knee,
holding him.
I love it. Great television.
Amazing.
Well, speaking of Lydia, should we talk about Lydia's ex?
Yes.
Uche. Okay. First and foremost, I would like to say that the discovery of the fact in episode 4 that they used to date.
It's been like a week.
Was one of the biggest bombs that I can even, I took one of the pillows off of our couch and I hit Evan in the face with it because it was
a major mic drop.
I literally was holding onto the pillow and I just hit it and I was like, sorry. I just got so just like, what?
Yes.
Absolute mic drop. And of all people too, it was Lydia and Aaliyah had become like best friends.
Yes.
Okay. In the pods. Let's talk first about Uche and Aaliyah.
Yes.
Right out the gate, number one, Aaliyah is literally an angel that was sent to Earth.
She's the most understanding, non-judgmental, forgiving person on the planet Earth.
My jaw was on the floor from the first episode through the last that we've seen. I mean, this woman is stunning. ICU nurse, just so loving to everyone in the pods. Funny, like she's really funny too, funny, and playful, sweet, charismatic. I mean, this woman deserves whoever this woman deserves the best man on the planet.
Yes.
Like truly.
She's
I
incredible.
believe this in my heart. So she starts talking to Uche.
Yeah.
And from the moment she starts talking to Uche, I was like, no.
Yes.
Like it's just not it for me.
Yeah, well, Uche has like a big like Bezos. I don't even know what Bezos would be like personally, but like he's got a big billionaire energy where it's like he looks at people as like notches on a like Excel sheet. Like he breaks them down. He's looking at like analytically. He's not really super interested in like personality or like, you know, who they are as people. He's more interested in like, okay, so what do you do? How long have you been doing that? What's your current bank account look like?
Yeah.
How many, you know, levels of corporate ladder have you gone across? Fantastic. Check. Okay, great. Now let's talk about motherhood. How many kids would you like to have?
Yes,
You know, it's very
100%.
like analytical. And then he's also like, let me analyze all your red flags.
Yes.
And then like he talks to you like you're someone trying to get a job. And he's like, oh, I noticed here that there's a gap in your resume here. 2 years you did not have a boyfriend. Is that some sort of insecurity you have? What did you do to cause that? And then she tells you and you go, oh, interesting. Well, that's very bad. And we don't like that here at the company. Like that kind of what it was like. He was very analytical, obviously very intelligent person. Super handsome guy.
Yeah, absolutely
shredded.
gorgeous.
Like there's no question that he generally doesn't struggle getting people interested in him, but I could see the issue constantly being him getting rid of people because they don't match some level that he wants.
Right. I mean, this man, he is like a businessman. He is a lawyer. And then on top of being a lawyer, has started his own, I think, software company. So this man, I mean, he is a businessman. He is successful.
He's successful. He's good looking.
Gorgeous.
Ripped, tall. So he's definitely someone who isn't like, oh, I don't have to pander to get, you know, significant others.
And you know, and I noticed even throughout, before we even had his conversation with Aaliyah, the conversation with others felt very much like, you know, interviewee, which I get, you're in the pods and so you're wanting to like get down to it quick, but it didn't have like necessarily the flow that some of the other conversations had because it felt more like an interview.
Even the way he laughs is like he's like
it's a billionaire laugh.
It's like, you know, it's like when you watch the videos of Bezos laugh and he just goes
The thing about Uche was that when we were first seeing him in the pods, I was a little bit like, okay, maybe it takes him a minute to warm
awkward,
up.
yeah.
Well, it wasn't even awkward to me. It was like, because the energy never felt awkward. To me, it was more like, is he like, he's so successful? Is he just kind of in business mode all the time? And it's going to take a little bit of time to like put that wall down of the business to get into like that emotional territory more. And so I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to feel it out. And Aaliyah is just so charming and warm that I'm like, maybe, you know, she'll kind of break down that wall with him and they'll end up being, you know, a super successful couple. But then a moment happened that I was like, Aaliyah, like, if I'm your friend in this pod, I'm like, no. If I had witnessed this, I'd be like, no. That's a no for me. Is when at one point Uche asked Aaliyah if she ever cheated on a partner. And Aaliyah decided to be extremely vulnerable and honest and say, yes, there was one time when I cheated with a partner. And she broke down exactly what was going on. And he then asked, and he immediately was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And then he asked when it was. And I forget the exact time.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And he literally goes like this. He goes, oh boy. So you're a recent cheater. And he takes a bite of a candy bar.
He's eating.
and like writes a note down.
He's eating through the interrogation. You know what I mean? And, you know, it was so interesting too, because like I will say this, the guy doesn't have a filter. Like he doesn't have the like, let me think of a best way to say this. He just says it. So it's like, oh, you're a recent cheater. Oh, that's more about you, isn't it? Oh, why didn't you tell him? Oh, that's more about you. Like he definitely went at her about her like issues instead of kind of maybe thinking about it and kind of giving her the benefit of the doubt. Like he definitely, I don't know. I will say this. It was like a real, for me, if you're doing that on the first date, imagine what you're like 5 years in when like when you're no longer trying to quote impress them or like give them your first whatever. So maybe he's one of those guys, you know, certain people put on for the first date and kind of really act charming and amazing. And then like you kind of later on, you kind of really get the thing. Maybe he's one of those guys that doesn't have that. He's like, this is who I am. This is how I operate right away.
Maybe.
This is like, we don't operate in feelings. We don't operate in forgiveness and love. We operate in facts.
Right.
And straight, you know, like maybe that's his thing. You know what I mean? It's just like, I am
don't know.
analyzing our lives as a document.
I don't know, but here's my thing is it's, you know, when you're having these conversations and then cheating gets brought up, like I completely understand if there's someone who is like, you know what, I I don't feel comfortable stepping into a relationship with someone who has cheated in the past. Like, everyone's prerogative is their own, and 1,000% like, worth the conversation. And I get that. But what happened was shaming began.
100%.
He began to shame her. And in this moment where, again, she was being extremely vulnerable and really transparent and explaining the ins and outs of everything that happened, and the shaming just kept hitting it. And then you watched Aaliyah, just the beautiful spirit that is Aaliyah, just go inward, because it was like just getting shamed for all these things. And then he comes out of left field and he's like, well, I cheated in a relationship once. And he's like, it was just a kiss and it was years ago, but like, I would never do what you did. And you're like, okay, what?
Yeah, that was some bullshit.
Like, okay, so now we're putting levels on what happened. And also, too, I know for her, it was like a one time. Who even knows? I mean, she didn't even, maybe they edited it out, but the fact that it was like, I'm going to shame you.
She said one time.
One time. But she's like, he's like, I'm going to shame you. And then I'm going to be like, I also kissed someone.
Yeah, so my whole thing about this,
never like what you
not
did,
as bad
and
as
you're
you,
like,
and that's why I can judge you for it.
Yeah,
my thing was like, if you're like, hey, you know what? Like, all he needed to do was be like, okay, thanks for telling me that. I appreciate it. You know what? That's something I need to think about.
Yeah,
because
100%.
if I'm being super honest with you, I am very sensitive.
Yeah.
To someone having cheated. It's something that just kind of triggers me. So, I'm going to kind of sit on that for a minute. It's just a lot to digest. I would like to kind of, if that's okay, discuss why you did it and how it happened. But it wasn't that. It was like, why did you do it? Oh, really? Ew. Like, it was very judgmental. And then he reveals that he cheated 5 seconds later. Well, I was only 18. It was only a makeout. I would never do what you did. Like, it was just very like, you know what it is? He comes across as someone who has to be in the driving position.
Right.
Business, relationships, friendships. It was always her kind of like swallowing her pride, swallowing her, being embarrassed, being hurt, being like, he never, like, even when he admitted to the whole Lydia thing, which we get into, it was like, it's hard for me too, so, and to be honest with you, is like, a lot of people are like that. For me, what the takeaway was how incredible Aaliyah was. Yeah. She had every right to fly off on him. Yeah. To be like, no, you can't shame me for this. It's bullshit. She was so gentle, so chill. But then I also felt really bad for her because I felt like she was being taken advantage of in her being chill, instead of like, she kind of like started to her posture started to shrink, and you could see the shame was like doing work on her body almost, and really put her in a box to where she felt like she had to like fight for it and win him back. And he was kind of like, we'll see a little bit vibes. And it just wasn't like a very...
And then when it was done, she was just sobbing because she's sitting there too. It's like, you just put something that was so vulnerable out there that you've never had the conversation before on national television. And then that's the response. And I would imagine she was not expecting that to be the response. And then that's the response. I mean, she really is an incredible person.
Especially coming from someone who had cheated before.
Right.
That was the main thing. It's like, if you had never done anything, at least you have like some grounds to judge someone on, because at least you can't, but you're like, well, I did it too, but it just wasn't as bad. It's like, okay, well, I mean, are you serious?
No, I will say to Uche's credit, he went back into the pods.
He thought about it.
And he did think about it, but also, unless it was edited out, it didn't look like he told any of the men what she said.
Yes.
He said something along the lines, if I can remember correctly, of like, there was a thing. And
there's
now he's
a thing that was I'm struggling with.
Yes, but he didn't go and reveal personal details about something that was very intimate for her. So I do have to give him credit in that, because I thought he might go in there and, explain to everybody, because I feel like that's what a lot of the people were doing, is they're going in and being like, well, they said this and they said this, but he kept it personal. So I have to give him credit for that. And then he did process it and apologize later. But that moment was like, this is what you're getting again at someone's like top, like when they first are meeting you.
Yes.
I'm like, this is not it, Aaliyah. Like, this is not it. But then when Aaliyah goes back, Lydia is there as always, comforting her.
Every single conversation Aaliyah has with any girl, it's with Lydia, and Lydia's taking her through the grieving process of struggling with this process, while Uche kind of deliberates. Whatever it is, Lydia is on her lap. They become like besties. That's the energy that's happening.
And while after this happens, Lydia is like holding Aaliyah and just
like a newborn baby,
over and over again, being like, you are me. You are me. I see you. You're me.
We're the same.
We're the same. We're the same. We're the same. And I'm watching this, and there's the half of me before I found out everything. There's a half of me that's going, you have like this incredibly supportive friend who's like loving on you and focusing on you. The other half is like, if I was Aaliyah, I'd be like, but we're not the same exactly.
You could see her eyes. You could see Aaliyah being like
I so appreciate it, but also kind of like, but we're not the
you're
same.
kind
We're
of
two
weirdly
different
making
people.
this about you right now.
Yeah, we're two different people. We're two different people with different experiences and different relationships. But that was the focus. It was very like, we're the same. Yes. And what I was taking away from that when I first was hearing it was like, okay, Aaliyah helped Lydia walk through her feelings with Izzy. And now Lydia is helping Aaliyah walk through her feelings with Uche.
Yes.
And she's like seeing parallels.
Yes.
Lydia's seeing parallels and is like,
course.
oh, we're the same. That's what I thought was going on.
Yeah.
But then Aaliyah and Uche end up getting back together in the pods. They make amends.
Things are going good. They seem to be headed towards a good direction.
Yes. And she is like, the thing about you is like, I know that you're always going to be honest with me and you're always going to be open with me. And
speaking of honesty,
he then tells her that on the first day in the pods, he bumped into his ex-girlfriend, Lydia.
Yeah. That was the bomb drop.
A huge bomb drop. And then they took us back to that day. And that was wild because when they first started interacting, because he didn't recognize her voice or things about her, I was like, okay, maybe they went on a couple dates and they're making it to be a bigger thing than it was. Well, we find out that they dated for months. Okay. They dated for months and then they had just even recently, as of 3 months ago, hooked up again.
My thing was, it was so strange because she walked in, he goes, hi, my name's Uche. And she goes like, wait, Uche? He goes, who are you? And then my thought to myself was like, you dated this person. He talked for like minutes and was still like, who is this? And it's like just a few months before they had hooked up, they had dated for months. I'm like,
if
how do you not
date someone
hear
for months? Like, I know that voice.
And the person goes, hey, it's me. And you go, who? And you're like, I know you. And you're like, what are you talking about? Outside the pods. And you're like, still don't know who you are. It's like, how is that possible?
Like, I get if the person didn't say I know you and then like knew my name beforehand, but like to be with someone for months and still not know, that's
dinners,
like, I'm
dates,
like, what?
hookups. That was crazy.
That was wild. But yeah, like I said, they dated for months and they had just recently hooked up.
So then Aaliyah, is met with the fact that not only has he lied to her, which we don't know is a producer thing or not. We're guessing it is.
Okay, so as of now, Uche has actually gone on social media and has said that the producers did not let him reveal that him and Lydia had used to date.
Sure.
And he said that also in the pods with the conversation with Aaliyah, that he explained that producers didn't let him reveal that. So, which I assume.
Oh, okay, interesting. So he explained the producers' situation.
That's what he said, is that he explained that part was edited out. Now, there isn't confirmation. I don't believe there's confirmation from Lydia that Lydia was told that she couldn't by the producers, but I would imagine it was the exact same for her. And I even noticed when Lydia was having conversation later with Aaliyah that it was
like now. It wasn't like I'm so sorry.
And Lydia kept saying like, if I would have told you, it would have ruined the process, and you wouldn't. And it sounded like something that producers were feeding to her. Like,
and she also was like saying, I was giving you hints by saying, I'm just like you. I'm just like you. So she almost you could tell they both wanted to say it, but they were forced not to sign a contract. They probably signed a contract before they even got into the show that said there will be someone.
I mean, I don't even know about that.
Who knows?
But I could even, just like I was saying, with the way that Lydia was talking to Aaliyah, it 100% sounded to me like a producer had been sitting her down every day, and Lydia was probably like, I want to tell Aaliyah, and the producer was
we'll
like,
cut you from the show.
And the producer then also was saying probably, you're going to ruin the process for her. She's really falling in love with Uche. If you get in the way, then it's going to ruin. Like, but they then weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
So that seems to have been completely confirmed, which isn't even my issue in this.
No.
Yeah.
If
they blatantly hit it, then it would have been.
Sure.
But they did not.
But to her understanding, at least on the point, the fact that the closest person I am too, and I've been spilling my guts about this person. And they only show a few minutes of their conversations. I'm sure they're stuck in there with no phones.
Hours.
They're having 8-hour conversations about Uche. And she's going, oh my, totally, I'm right here for you. Oh my God, that sounds amazing. Oh, interesting. Wow, he sounds interesting. Like, she's, talk about the level of betrayal you'd feel. You would feel so conned. And she didn't once, like, freak out. She just went, wow, well, there's something I need to think about. And, she didn't even doubt Lydia for a second. She goes, she's going to be an amazing aunt to my kids one day. And I'm just going like, you might be the sweetest, most understanding person on planet Earth.
She immediately
I
was like,
lost my mind.
I would have absolutely lost my mind. No, she stepped away for a moment and came back and is just such an incredible human to be just willing to hear everyone out, like giving everyone the benefit of the doubt, And again, I know Uche said that in his conversation with her, he told her that producers had said, but even regardless of that, my thing would be like, even if producers told you can't say anything, I'm now having to process all of this, which is a factor that I never had been thinking about when I was talking to Lydia, when I was talking to you. Now I'm processing if we all end up going to Mexico together. Like, am I going to be able to trust your guys' relationship?
Exactly.
And
knowing that 3 months prior they hooked up, that is very recent.
Yes. And then they're having these conversations, and obviously this then trickles in, these conversations trickle in to another time that they had in the pods. But she's then asking him, like, do you still have feelings for her? What's going on? And, Uche is like, I don't feel that way about her anymore, but she's an incredible person. She's, going to be amazing for someone.
Yeah.
It didn't work out, but you can feel that he has a lot of love for her still.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we have the moment where we're reminded that he's had a conversation with Milton a few minutes before, where he was kind of grilling Milton a little bit, being like, you're not ready to get married. And she needs to know. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, Milton doesn't know. And so now you're invested knowing that Milton is with Lydia and asking about that and knowing that behind the scenes stuff. And
it was weird that Uche was like very concerned with Lydia.
Yeah.
Like, my thing at first, it was like, oh, you know what? You can't blame the guy. He had hook up 3 months ago. He got booked for the show. Mm-hmm. He's no longer dating her. I don't think that he generally seemed to be like, he's like, no, I ended it with her. He said, if I wanted to be with Lydia, I'd be with Lydia.
Yeah.
But like, I canceled that and it's all good.
Yeah. He said he ended it, by the way.
He said he ended it. But then with the Milton thing, he all of a sudden was like, she deserves love and she deserves to have this and that and this and that. And I was kind of like, it's kind of weird to be talking about while you just broke the news to your possible fiance that you have
like,
been lying about this. Like, this is like later on stuff that you kind of bring up and you're like, yeah, I don't know if Milton seems right for Lydia. I don't know. But to be like fighting for Lydia and her love
not the
while
time.
You're in the same breath of exposing that you have been not talking about this, strange.
Yeah.
So that was weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was weird. And then, but she seemed to be kind of like swallowing it, handling
and
it. She was kind of like, you know what? It is what it is.
And the thing is too, then you have, from then Aaliyah's perspective, in that moment, you're like, okay, Uche has only good things to say about Lydia. Lydia's been supportive of Uche and I.
Yeah.
So they both think that they're good people. So maybe I found two good people, right?
Yes.
So it's like, and they still support each other. And when I was watching that too, I was a little bit like, okay, maybe they just have like a healthy, they were hooking up or whatever. Yeah. And they care about each other, but that's it. But the energy started to shift a little bit, where all I could think about was, I was like, this could be a problem in Mexico if everybody goes afterwards, because there seems to still be unresolved feelings.
Well, she goes back to Lydia, basically to kind of wrap this whole thing up.
Yeah.
Exposed to her, I know this. Let's just be cool. We can be friends. It's going to be a little tough. But, basically, it was all on Lydia to prove to her this is going to be okay. And Lydia went, let me throw that whole idea into a dumpster. So she comes back and literally goes, oh my God, I love you so much. Everything's good. We're not together anymore. No problem at all. And then goes on to expose that they hooked up 3 months ago, which he didn't say.
He didn't
He
share.
had said, oh, this was like 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
So it means they had kind of been like maybe friends with benefits vibes. So the fact that like 2 years ago they dated, but now they hooked up 3 months ago, it's probably every once in a while they call each other, hook up, blah, blah, blah. So he didn't say that. So that was also a red flag. Then she sits there and just goes, oh, his house is beautiful. His car is so cool. These are his dogs.
You're
This
going
is
to
what we
love his
hooked up
dog. You're
last-
going to love his dog. His
Oh my
dog's
God.
obsessed with me. I bought him a toy. Like, you know, when you go in, the dog's going to love. The dog loved me.
Yes, the dog would cry and pee every time he saw me. His friends are great too. His friends love me.
And-
like she was marking her territory.
Yes.
All while putting it under the guise of, I'm totally cool though.
And I believe that it was subconscious to a certain extent, where it's like you're still into this guy, and
So into him.
and you really love your friend Aaliyah, but you're also being like, just so you know, I know all these things, all while Aaliyah's literally saying to her, please don't. She's literally
saying, please stop.
She's literally interrupting her, saying, Lydia, I don't want to know these things. I want to find these things out for myself. And as she's saying, I want to find these things out for myself, Lydia continues to go down the roster of every fact she's ever known about Uche. And Aaliyah's begging her, please stop. Like, please. And every time she gives her another fact, Aaliyah's going, oh God. Like,
Yeah, it's like, I would have lost my mind. How did Aaliyah not fly off and go, shut the fuck up? You know what I mean? Like, she just was like, oh, interesting. Yeah.
and
I don't
Aaliyah
know. I
had
don't
just
think I
said,
like
like,
this.
I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to be with Uche and keep our relationship like how it is now, knowing that you guys just hooked up
And
recently.
Lydia does her thing. Yes, we will. It'll be best.
We'll be
We're
best friends.
amazing.
We'll be best
Let's
friends.
be together.
We'll
Best
be
friends
best
forever.
friends. We're the same person.
And she's
And then
like, I
she kept
can't
saying,
hang.
and it's crazy because he picked someone exactly like me, and it's
Yeah,
you.
like,
And you're
that's
like, oh
weird.
my God.
You
like,
know?
stop.
She clearly still wanted to be with him bad.
1,000%.
She broke his heart. Or he broke her heart.
And now at this point, I'm thinking Aaliyah's
Was
going
like,
to...
Uche!
I'm thinking at this point, Aaliyah's going to go back to Uche and they're going to, end up getting engaged,
Yeah.
etc. But all I could think, and now obviously we know she left, but all I could think about is I was praying. I was like, Aaliyah, I know you love Lydia, and I don't know if, there's the thoughts of like, is Lydia being a genuine friend, and then, making all these unwise choices by like essentially like, pissing all over, her relationship and being like, oh, there was this, and we're the same and blah, blah, blah. Or is Lydia getting to know Aaliyah specifically, knowing that her and Uche were talking, and that's why she cares about the relationship so much? I don't know. But from Aaliyah's perspective, I'm like, I know there's this person that you really connect with, that you care about, but I just pray that you're like, set that boundary to be
Yeah.
like, I care about you, and maybe one day, in a year from now, we can be friends. But if I'm with Uche, I can't.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to have a problem with each other. I'll always care about you. But like, clearly you're demonstrating to me that this isn't going to work out.
Yeah.
And it just is what it is.
And she saw the future.
She saw
You know
the
what I
future.
mean? When she left, and that was a first for sure, just leaving without saying a word.
So
She
Uche-
didn't go, oh my gosh, well, I'm going to miss you. And I'm sorry. She just left, which was a fire move.
When Uche walked into that pod and the producer was like, Aaliyah's gone, you saw me. I stood up and
Yeah.
I did a standing
You
ovation
did a
because I
slow
was
clap.
like, Aaliyah she is such a queen and deserves the absolute best. And this was just so messy.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I know that like he wasn't allowed to say all those things. The producer said you can't, but like the shaming with like the cheating situation, all this stuff, I was like, no. And I'm sure Aaliyah in her heart kept processing, knowing that Milton and Lydia were going to be going to Mexico likely. Like, what is this actually going to look like? And she was like, I'm not going to put myself through that.
Yes.
Like, I deserve more, and I'm not going to put myself in that situation. And instead of like dealing with the back and forth with Uche, she was like, I'm gone.
Yeah, smart.
And I loved it. Removed herself from the situation, baby.
Yeah. Because she knew what was ahead. And she knew, like, if we were going back home right now, this might work. I can just cut Lydia out of my life entirely. But she knew there's going to be the rest of the show. We're going to be in Mexico. Lydia's going to be trying to come at him. Like, she just saw it. She goes, Lydia is going to try to be my friend. It's going to go bad because she's going to like get drunk and try to like hook up with Uche. Uche's going to have weird moments where they're going to be talking. I mean, she was just more looking at like worst case scenario. And she goes, just being here was too much around Lydia in this whole situation. Wait till we're like out in the wild and Lydia's like, she just knew Also here's another who
and they all live in the same city, so it's not like we live across the world from each other.
And there was a level of like, and who knows what else Uche hasn't told me. Like there was probably so many thoughts, and so she was just like,
well, and she went to Uche too, and she was like, well, I'm getting this new information from Lydia that you didn't communicate to me, so you're hiding this. Also,
she's like too messy.
Little side note is that when Lydia was revealing everything to Milton and Milton was processing it, Lydia said that she ended it, which I don't buy.
I don't buy for 2 seconds.
Which, God bless, maybe she believes she ended it. Maybe
no.
What I'm picturing, is that Uche broke up with her and then they hooked up 3 months ago. And after the hookup, Lydia was like, on her way out, she was like, by the way, I just want to let you know it's not happening again. Bye. And blocked him on everything because he said she had blocked him.
Yes.
But she then considered that. She's like, I dumped him. And he was like, no, I broke up with you. And then like we came back and hooked up.
Yeah, we just hooked up. Yeah.
But she then told Milton, she was like, I ended things. And then when Milton was asking her for an explanation, she was like, well, I told you about how 2020, how it was a really hard year for me. And I'm like, Lydia, 2020 was a really hard year for all of us.
For the world. The pandemic really just kind of was a struggle for me. And I know that that's like very unique to me.
And I'm sure she's probably going through a whole thing. But like, she wasn't focusing on like, it was a while ago too. Yeah. So they were both it's interesting. And we get previews for upcoming episodes where we see Uche talking about Lydia still being into him. I mean,
I have a feeling, conspiracy theory.
Okay.
He had mentioned that he was going to try out for the show. And then she also tried out. And a part of her selling point was that I also dated Uche, and they thought that might work.
You might be right.
And she's just following him around. That's what I think. And then she's like, no way, Uche, you're here? Who's that?
That's what she right away knew.
Exactly.
Producers are like, by the way, Uche is coming in right now.
Exactly.
And she's like, okay.
Exactly.
Me.
Precisely. I think that's not random. She tried out, like, they were probably hooking up, talking, whatever. And he's like, I think I'm going to go on this show. And then she's like, oh, really? Wow. Okay. Whatever. And then that tweaked her. And then she called the producers or found out the email and said, hey, by the way, like, there's no, you know what I mean? There's no way they just happened to both get on the show.
Yeah.
Like, one of them knew each other, so. Well, and he doesn't seem like a guy who would be like randomly trying out for the show. It definitely was like a calculated thing. She definitely followed him on that show.
There's a possibility, or vice versa. Because
maybe
they reached out to him.
Because then we see a preview of him saying to her, "Are you still trying to get back together with me?" So she's following him 100%.
Well, I just want to say shout out to Aaliyah. I love you.
Strong move.
You are an incredible human being, and you deserve literally the world. And I hope that you have found that or get that, because you're incredible. And we see
strong move
Aaliyah in the preview, so we'll see what goes down with that. We'll see. Okay. Should we dive into the Izzy, Stacy, Johnie, Chris situation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Should we turn the air on first?
Sure. It's a little
because
hot.
I'm cooking.
Everyone's sleepy.
We're all starting to get a little sleepy because it's getting a little hot. Okay, air is on. So Izzy, Stacy, Johnie, Chris.
Yes.
Starting off with Izzy. We're 4 episodes in, and I still don't know how I feel about Izzy.
I feel mostly good.
Okay.
So I'm about 85% good.
Okay. Now we saw in the preview that I believe Stacy was saying something about him being like a fuckboy or something,
right,
which has been the energy that I'm feeling throughout this.
He's got the classic, is he insecure, or is the insecurity a player vibe? We've talked about guys like this in the past that I've known, where I've known guys who are absolute players and they don't do the classic player thing, which is like, hey ladies, how's it going? Here's my yacht. They do the, I'm just kind of like insecure and I don't really know what I'm doing. And then, oh, you like me? That's crazy.
But I don't feel like he's doing that.
No, I'm saying,
yeah.
Those are the 2 types of players that you run across, are like the who me?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know I'm super hot and that like I get a lot of ladies. And then that's charming. And so then they kind of fall in love with the like, he's hot but doesn't know it thing, but he does know it.
Absolutely knows. Yeah.
If he is a player, that would be his style. because he's very like open about some of his insecurities and his like his traumatic past and things like that. And so my thing is like, you never know if he is a fuck boy. That's definitely his style. I'll be honest with you though, in the beginning I was feeling a little bit of that, like, oh, is he a player? You know, is he kind of playing into this like vulnerable thing? But I'll be honest with you, the way that he's consistently been and the way he was when he saw Stacy and acted, I felt genuine vibes.
Oh no, I definitely feel genuine vibes between Izzy and Stacy. When they saw each other, I was like, oh, they're liking each other.
Yeah.
The thing about Izzy is that I was like feeling in and out, right? So I was like, I'm getting some player energy, but then I wouldn't feel that way and I couldn't quite read it. And there were moments where I was like, really like, oh my God, I'm really, really liking him. He's a great conversationalist. He's super open. He's talking about the need for therapy, like all of these things. Like I'm enjoying that. But then there were moments where when it was kind of like, what do you want? You know, there was kind of a heavy thing of like, well, I need somebody to be like mature and emotionally intelligent, which are all good things. But then also we're sending off some, I don't know, random red flags in the back of my mind, which it just depends on who it's coming from, right? Because like maturity, emotional maturity, all yes, 100% in a partner. Like yes. But the way that it was kind of like, this is what I don't know. It could
kind of smell like he thinks he's emotionally mature and other
maybe
people
more
aren't.
So than he is. Like, you know, like I don't know. And then there was a lot of the like the sexual comments, which, you know, we love when we're in the pods, we're getting to know, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know where I'm landing here. Now, I will say this. He talked about a lot of religious trauma that he grew up with, and then finding out that his dad wasn't his dad later. He wasn't his biological dad later in life, and he went through a lot of religious trauma. And I'm like, Izzy, hello, I see you.
Yes.
Like, we see you, we feel you, and I am so sorry you went through that. I'm still working through my religious trauma and the upbringing of all of that. What makes me wonder if Izzy is ready is this. The religious trauma piece of it. As someone who comes from a background with religious trauma, when you have been suppressed most of your life, and he talks about how he wasn't allowed to do a lot of things, wasn't allowed to participate.
Super sheltered.
I was recognizing a lot of that, and maybe I'm totally projecting, but I was recognizing a lot of that going like, oh man, I remember that because I was super like suppressed from not being allowed to do all these other things that people around me were doing, and I wasn't allowed to grow up in certain ways, that in my older years, that came out, and I was like, I gotta live, and I gotta party, and I have to mature. There were a lot of ways that I had to mature later in life. I think for me and you, because that happened with us together, we did that together. But if you have a partner who's had those experiences and you haven't, and you're kind of in a place, I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying? I feel like he might be.
Can I break it down?
Yes.
Here's what I think it is.
Okay.
You're exactly what you're saying.
I feel like I'm overanalyzing him, but I was just having a hard time.
You're nailing it. I think I just have like a perspective on it to like bring it across the finish line. Here's what I saw. He liked Johnie the most in regards to love. They had like a depth to me that was very like romantic and deep and like calm and like mature. But him being a sheltered person is like, I've never been able to kind of do the fun party thing I never got to do.
Yes.
Stacy was fun.
Party
because you noticed this. When he was talking to Johnie, there was no fucks. When he talked to Stacy, it was fuck this, fuck that, fucking shit, fucking that. Like every word was fuck.
I don't fucking know because I fucking love this fucking woman and she's a fucking. And I was like,
he's like, you know what's the fucking greatest thing ever? Is like fucking burritos, man. Like fucking burritos are awesome. Like I love the fucking taste of a fucking burrito. You know, it just was like.
And I was like, I see you because you weren't allowed to, and I sometimes will overswear because I wasn't allowed to.
But I was like, Stacy, okay. He was like, oh, I'm able to have fun with her. I'm gonna be able to kind of do these things I normally don't get to do. With Johnie, it was like very serious. And so here's the twist that I felt.
Okay.
The twist I felt was that he mistook Johnny's calm nature for not being fun and crazy. And I don't mean crazy in a bad way. I mean crazy as in like loose and fun and like, you know, up for anything. And he took Stacy's, the way she talks, as, oh, this girl's down for anything and she's wild and free and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, the vibe I got with Stacy is that she's actually more serious than Johnie. And that she's kind of louder and more boisterous and more fun, but actually will want a more solidified relationship and partnership. Johnie hits me as someone whose demeanor makes her look a certain way, but she's actually down for the fun and is actually less serious than Stacy is. So what I can see happening is that he kind of got like, he thought he was getting something different than he was, and he kind of fell in love with the idea of like, you know what, I'm down to get married, but like kids and all that stuff, like I want to just have fun right now. And I think he mistook Stacy's kind of like, she was more, you know, vocal about sex and vocal about, this and that.
Yes.
And he's like, you know what, I need fun right now. So I think as they go on, I think she's going to accuse him of being a fuckboy possibly, because he's like, I thought we were doing the fun thing. And she's kind of like, no, that's just my personality. I actually want a more serious thing.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is I think he comes across as a very sensitive, kind, like sweet guy.
Yes.
But at the same time,
I think
he's ready
to
party.
Yes.
And I think that's where we're going to have drama.
Yes, 1,000%. Now with the Izzy Johnie piece, there was a moment where it was like, I feel like he was feeling connected because they had both gone through these certain traumas, and he was like, oh, I'm with someone who can like see me in these certain ways, and Johnie appreciated that about Izzy
Big
too.
time.
But as soon as she talked about how there was a husband that she didn't feel like was the love of her life compared to her ex, I felt like that's when we saw Izzy shut off, and it was like, will I ever be able to compare to that love? And then he just shut down because of that.
It was like the Uche thing all over again. Uche's like, wait, are you going to cheat on me? And then Izzy's like...
Uche?
Yeah, because Uche was like, with Aaliyah, his big thing was like, how do I know you're not going to cheat on me?
Yes.
And then with Izzy, it was like, how do I know that I won't be another husband that wasn't loved?
Right.
Which is really interesting. A lot of these men have this like deep insecurity about being loved and wanted.
Yeah, that's...
And even Chris brought it up earlier. He's like, I want to be wanted. Like, it's very interesting how that seems to be a theme across
100%.
all these men.
And that's why it's like, we got to dive into like, it's true. We all want to be loved, and we got to be open about that. And it's okay to have, and these conversations are all good. The issue is then where it's like, then when you're projecting something on someone else, or then you're shutting off or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
100%.
But yeah, the thing about then Stacy, and Stacy is an interesting one to me.
Very interesting.
Because we started off with Stacy, and she was like, at first I was like, oh my God, Stacy, this woman has a laminated file folder of what she expects in a partner.
And she was doing point systems. She goes, okay, that's good, 4 points. Like she had point systems for each like green flag.
Know that journal was like just full of, because at the very beginning she was like, oh, this guy's this way, no, awkward, no. She's going through the whole thing, and I was like, she was tough
to please.
I was like, is Stacy gonna be like, are they trying to give her villain energy? I was getting a little more like Aunt Katie vibes from her Instagramless Aunt Katie, where it's like, these are my expectations, and I'm not here, and I'm not gonna pretend to like be in love with someone if I'm like, no, this isn't meeting my expectation. I'm like, Stacy's the type of woman who, if you're doing a speed dating, it's immediately like, next. The person is like starting to sit down, and it's like,
yes,
like no. And then you can tell she's doing handstands. She's like gym Stacy, and she's got her routines. But then at the same time, you're like, Stacy's not out here just doing the whole boiled chicken gym thing, because Stacy wants to party. She's like, I want to have a good time. Dropping like, fuck this, fuck that. Like, and she even communicated with Izzy, like, listen, it's all about having fun. I want to enjoy my life. Like, we're here for a good time, not a long time type of energy. But ultimately, we had a moment with Stacy, which is to really echo your point, where when she did open up to Izzy more about what her biggest fear was, she said it's abandonment and started crying. And she didn't really get into what that was. But I feel like because Izzy chose Stacy, I think we're going to really get to know Stacy. And I think Stacy, definitely something happened, and it was really painful for her. And so her boundary, her wall is like, I'm going to have fun. I'm not going to, be going into this relationship, that relationship. She even said, she's like, I have been independent and loving my single life for 4 years.
It's interesting that she was.
And I believe that wholeheartedly. Like, I believe she's been like loving her like single party gym, working existence, and that she's been super happy in that. But I think that Stacy, that there is the side that you were saying where I think when she's in. And it's like her saying yes to Izzy was like, I am in. And now I'm going to be a partner for you. And so if Izzy's not there in that way, that she might get really heartbroken. I think we're going to see a whole different side to Stacy, because there was even a moment where Stacy was comforting Lydia. And all of a sudden, Stacy, who beforehand was like, I'm not going to get deep into this. I'm not going to get into some drama shit or talk about this or talk about that. She laid out some truths for Lydia, some wisdom that came up. And I was like, I think we're really going to get to know Stacy in a very different way.
Two things.
Yeah.
I originally wasn't vibing with her. Mm-hmm. Like, originally it was kind of like, oh, this is kind of villain edit vibes, whether it's the edit or it's who she is.
Yeah.
Because it was very like, came out of the barrel quick. It was like a lot of judgments, a lot of cutting guys off, not giving anybody a chance.
Totally. I was on the same wavelength.
I'm the best, you can't compete with me kind of energy. And so it was definitely like, ooh, this might be one of those. And then the more that we watched from her, the more I liked her.
Me
and
too.
the more that I felt like she was a genuine person. And then the way that she was with Izzy when they met right before, she seemed like really sweet, and she wasn't pulling any sort of like weird like Irina-esque vibes like we thought maybe she was kind of leaning towards.
I was predicting, and that's why I had my eyeball on the women's side of the pod.
Right.
Now we had a couple moments.
Well, I wanted to get to that.
Yeah.
Because I was feeling really good about Stacy. As I was like, oh, I think we're headed in a really good direction. I think maybe I judged her too quickly. But then the one thing we heard, which was the only negative thing, because generally in the pods,
there's some drama.
There's drama. And there's like, there's
drama.
3 people don't like these 2 people.
Yeah.
No drama at all. Everyone was getting along.
Lovely
except
with each other.
One comment was made by, I think it was...
Johnie, Taylor, and Renee
were all talking, and Johnie was sad about the fact that Izzy broke up with her. And Renee, one of them said, oh, don't worry, they'll break up in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's a weird thing to say. That was definitely like a, hey, we love you for him. We don't necessarily love Stacy energy.
And this is the vibe that I'm getting. Because again, I had my eye on the pods, right? The vibe that I got was, I wasn't sure until I saw the way that Stacy was talking to Lydia and was there for Lydia when Lydia needed somebody. I think that Stacy came in and was like, I'm not going to, because she even said, I'm not going to share with everybody about who I like and give them details, because I think that it's just going to make it like problematic in the pods. So she was keeping everything really tight to her vest. Like, it was all real tight to her chest. Like, I'm not going to reveal anything. And everyone else in the pods was probably really open and communal about what was going on. And it probably bugged people, which I get. I'd be feeling that way a little bit too, where I'm like, why is she being sneaky? Why isn't she part of like our community and sharing our thoughts and feelings? And if she is that way, where she's like, let's just have fun, let's party, some of the women in there were probably like, I'm here to have a husband. I don't know if she's serious.
Yes.
Because she just wants to have a good time, and she seems to like not be vibing with anybody.
Yes.
She's not talking about anybody. But I think she actually does have that desire, but that's her like wall.
Exactly.
That's how I'm feeling with her.
It'll be interesting. I think everyone seems to be kind of straightforward. Izzy and Stacy are the ones that I feel like, not straightforward, but I feel like we've nailed them a little bit. I feel like they've exposed themselves. I feel like
I'm feeling the opposite. I'm feeling we have a lot of complex characters where I'm like, I have feelings, but I also feel like I'm gonna be surprised by a lot of people.
See, I'm seeing Milton is just straight up, simple, sweet, 24-year-old guy, likes to play video games. Lydia, wild. I mean, there's no question she's going to go after Uche again. She's not going to vibe with Milton outside of it. She's going to ruffle feathers while she's out there.
Yeah.
I see Uche as being like strong, confident, kind of judgmental guy that's going to ruffle feathers too. It's going to go back and forth. I see, and we'll get to the JP situation, but with Izzy and Stacy, those are the two that I'm kind of like, ooh, are we going to see him become more of a fuck boy and start flirt with other people? Are we going to see Stacy be a lot more serious and kind of contemplative than we so I think they're the two that I'm like, we haven't really nailed down who they are. Have they been kind of putting on a show a little bit, a certain way? Are they kind of performing a little bit of who they actually are? Those are the two that I feel like I don't know what's going to come with them.
I think we're going to be surprised by everybody.
I love it.
I just have this feeling. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off. But, okay, so then we also have Johnie. So Johnie in this whole Izzy piece, Johnie is gentle and sweet.
She's like everybody just goes into therapy mode. All the guys go into therapy mode with her.
Well, we had Izzy, who right away opened up to her about his religious trauma, and he's like, I've never talked about anybody about this before. And then we had the moment with Chris where he was so vulnerable and opened up about the assault that he experienced, which, by the way, it was like such an important conversation, and the fact he was willing to be vulnerable about it, it's something that needs to be talked about more, and that was a really powerful moment. And these
just
men,
opened up to her.
They opened up to her, and she has this energy.
She's very calming.
Where
I felt calm around her, and wasn't even on the show.
Where you were like, I just wanted to share. I almost wonder if obviously there's editing happening, so there's probably not a lot of silent moments that we're hearing, but I bet she's comfortable sitting in silence.
Yes.
And just kind of existing.
And it's not awkward.
And
some people have that, right? It's like a weird ability to
Oh no, I was saying I don't have that. I can't sit in silence.
Yeah, it's weird how some people can sit in silence, but the other person then doesn't feel like this is awkward.
Yeah, when the person's comfortable. But no, she's a lawyer, but then she talks about her past, and she talks about how a really intense moment where she was like, my mom basically said maybe a relationship's not for you, which broke my heart because Johnie seems just like such a lovely person. But we had the situation where her
and Stacy did opposites for me. Like, the more I watched, Stacy started ramping up. I'm like, oh, maybe I judged her too quickly. And then Johnie, I was like, oh, I loved her from the get, but now I'm starting to kind of see some things that are kind of concerning to me. You know what I mean? It was interesting.
There were some moments with Johnie where it was like I was so in, but then there were the moments where when she decided to end things with Chris, which, by the way, speaking of judging someone too quickly, I would like to formally apologize. I judged Chris so quickly because of that first comment that he said.
Like, most people think I'm like this hot fuck boy, but I'm actually nice. I was like, oh God, okay.
People always look at my face and they think I'm a playboy.
You just called yourself hot. That was embarrassing.
Super lovey-dovey. And I go, oh God, here we go.
Yeah.
And he's handsome. And I'm just like, oh God, I know exactly what you're going to be like. And
but he's actually a super sweet guy.
He is a lovely person.
Yeah, right.
And every way in which he moved on this show was lovely. The way he interacted with Izzy after Johnie chose Izzy over him, who was so gracious.
And then chose him back, and then he was having to deal with that.
And then when she called him back in, he wasn't defensive, which if he would have been, I totally get it. But he was so humble. He was very much like, when he came back in, I wrote down, I was like, this is the opposite of toxic masculinity. Yeah. He came in just humble and willing to hear her out, but also being like, but this is how I feel. And then ultimately, he said, I have to choose myself, and he didn't end up getting engaged. And I really loved his energy, and I judged him quick because of that comment. And I think he seemed like a really wonderful, funny, warm person.
Agreed.
But when Johnie had that initial, she's ending things with Chris, and then she chooses Izzy, and she's letting Izzy know, Chris was the safe option for me, and I have to pick someone like you because I tend to always pick the safe option. But then when Izzy ended things with her, and then she went back to Chris, and she was like, you're the safe one, but I tend to pick people like Izzy. And it was the opposite. And then the guys found out that she both told them, I tend to pick people like the other person, and so I'm choosing you instead. Where that felt a little bit like, are you doing the lawyer thing where you're kind of selling a bill of goods? And there was a moment too where when she sat down with Chris after she broke up with him and was trying to get him back, where she had her journal out and she was like, I love these things about you, and I could tell she wrote them down, which is fine, but it's like, you do this with your family and you love this. And I was like, you trying to remember those things, or do you really care, or what's going on? But I do genuinely feel, I do feel for Johnie in my heart, because I feel like, I don't think she was selling them a bill of goods. I don't think she was I think she probably saw two different things, and Izzy and Chris are different people, but she saw two things in them that she was drawn to that maybe reminded her of her past. And then she was like, maybe I should go for this and not for this. And I think she's just trying to figure out what she needs that's healthy for her. And so I think then when she took the not safe option from her opinion, which was Izzy, that then she was like, oh, I made a mistake, my judgment's off. And then she went to Chris. I don't think she was selling it. I think she's just trying to really figure out what she needs.
Yeah.
And there's still obviously a lot of hurt there. And like she had said, she was so in love with her ex-partner, and the tragedy that happened with that. Like, I don't know. I think Johnie's still searching.
Yeah.
And I think Johnie's going to be an incredible partner. I really think she is a lovely person. And I think I don't know. I feel like Johnie is genuinely, I don't think she was trying to pull one over on anybody. I think she's really trying to just figure herself out right now.
I felt like she was flawless up until Izzy broke up with her.
Yeah.
So like everything was great. The way she broke up with Chris.
And that rejection hurts because
Right.
she was like, she was into Izzy.
But people do this on the show.
Yeah.
They get broken up with and all of a sudden they go back to their old person being like, actually, now that I've thought about it. And it's a little bit like, okay, well, you know, now that you've thought about it as opposed to now that the first deal went away, you know, I think it's one of those things where once she got broken up with Izzy, she kind of went into panic mode. And instead of just walking away, she goes, I don't want to prove my mom right. Because her whole mom was like, maybe you don't believe, you know, maybe you shouldn't be in a relationship. So then she starts to panic and going, maybe I can go back to that original deal. Oh, wait, it's not quite the same. And I just felt like, and then she kind of started talking shit a little bit on Stacy and going like, well, you know, if he was serious, he'd be with me. But, you know, he clearly just wants to have fun. And so therefore he's going, like, she started to kind of rescind into kind of the not super awesome vibes that she was having for the whole front half of the show.
Totally.
So it was almost like a panicky kind of feeling insecure. You start to revert to maybe some behaviors that you don't love. And I, you know, that's all cool too. But what I didn't like was when she went back to, because I think the first thing she said was the most eye-opening, which was, I have a huge crush on Izzy. And Chris is like a good guy who, like, I know on paper is good.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the difference, right? Like, that's fair. That's a super fair thing to say. Like, I got the butterflies with this guy, and this guy just check boxes. So I'm not going to go with this guy. I'm going to go with this guy. Oh, shoot, this guy doesn't like me. Well, maybe check boxes isn't so bad. That's what I felt she was doing. And for all the reasons why she chose Izzy, she reversed it to choose him. And I felt like that was the only thing that felt like, you're panicking because you feel like you're getting left behind, and you're not being genuine about the fact that you actually don't really like Chris that much, but you don't want to be alone. And so you're just kind of like coming up with ways to convince him. And it's
I think what you said about mom was, you nailed it. I think it was that echoing, which is so terrible that she has to deal with that.
She knows if I come off this show with no husband,
that
I'm
mom's
going to
make some bullshit comment, and it's going to be so painful. And I've never had to experience that, so like I can't speak into that. I can't imagine having a mom making those comments. But like, I don't know. I hope for Johnie, because she just seems like such a lovely person, and it makes me sad because I feel like when she sees Chris in person at some point, I feel like her heart will melt a little bit. He's just so lovely, and I think she'll have some feelings coming up, and that'll be painful. But I feel like for Johnie, like what I want for her is, I'm like, Johnie seems like she maybe needs to spend some time just loving on Johnie.
Yes.
And
agreed.
recognizing what an amazing person she is, going, what my mom says is bullshit. I can't listen to my mom. I know who I am. I know that I should be loved. I deserve to be loved, and that I'm amazing, and needs to spend some time just like loving on herself.
Agreed entirely. Last group.
Okay, last couple.
JP and Taylor.
JP and Taylor.
Milk boy. Like, this guy is an American flag toting bag of 2%. Like,
you mean just because he's just bland?
He's just like, I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just like,
you sound like one.
He's kind of like this. He's like, wait, JP's been here the whole time at this party?
Oh God.
Like, JP, when did you get here? He's like, I was here before you. You're like, what? You know, you're sitting there and you're like, so
he's not super chatty.
So any vacations you got on recently? And he just goes, no. And you're like, cool. Oh my gosh, did you watch that football game on the weekends? Yeah. So how do you know Jess? Work. Okay. Well, that's cool, man. Anyway, oh shoot, someone's calling me. You know what I mean? Like, he's got that energy. Nothing wrong with the guy. Just like so bland that it's like I'm sweating watching the show because he's just sitting there like going, yeah. And then Taylor's like, so yeah. And she's, yeah. I
feel like Taylor was putting in a lot of work.
To make that happen.
To get to know JP.
And what's with the American flag? Because I will say this. who knows
know.
why? But when he was wiping his eyes, he was crying at one point, and he's wiping his face with an American flag. And after he would wipe his tears with it, he'd like put it back on the pillow.
He'd like fold it.
And then every scene of him in the guy's room was him with a button-up polo, like a golf shirt, imprinted entirely in the American flag.
So
multiple versions too. He didn't have just one American flag golf shirt. He had multiple.
Okay, so this man is a firefighter, and he knows. So he serves.
He fucking loves America.
But like this man, the amount of American flag regalia that he owns and wears, like this man is keeping the U.S. in business. Like the
he
amount
even
that
said, "I'm always in red, white, and blue," and she's like, "Really?" And he's like, "Always."
No, and she thinks it's probably a joke, and you're like, "No,
dead fucking serious.
He's 100% serious.
When they met, I thought he was gonna be in a red, like an American flag suit.
Oh, 100. I'm sure he has one. So I'm like
with like Uncle Sam hat on.
Like I'm very, very confused as to.
He's like, "Marry me," and they're just like a flag that's fucking 900 feet waving in the sky. Like that's gonna be his wedding.
I was gonna say, typically they have like all kind of the same exact weddings. JP's gonna be like, I need a few specifics. But like, I'm so where I am just so very confused though is that I'm like, this man literally is never not wearing red, white, and blue. He's either has a shirt on, he has socks on, everything's always red, white, and blue. And let me tell you something, okay? He's the only Instagram I looked at because I'm like, I'm very curious.
Yeah, like what kind of guy is this?
And when I tell you, I'm not
consistent.
No. Every photo he's wearing
some sort of red, white, and blue.
Trunks, Speedo, hat, shirt, shorts, all the American flag, all of them, okay? So this is where I'm slightly confused. I'm like, someone who's this obsessed with the American flag, the fact that he used it as a handkerchief was bewildering to me. When I saw it laying perfectly folded, I was like, there's a story here, and I'm waiting to hear that revealed story. And maybe it was like a very emotional story about like...
But they cut it out.
But they cut it, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But the way it was like folded, I was like, he's going to talk about something that happened. And it was like, oh, this is a flag.
Maybe he's not that into America and he just loves the color scheme.
I mean, maybe. But I'm like, this guy, he had this thing perfectly folded. There's going to be a story here, maybe an emotional... I don't know.
When he was wiping his tears with it, that was next level.
But then when he grabbed it and he started wiping his face, I'm like, I do not...
That's
like,
next
this
level.
is bananas.
What does his house look like? Inside his house?
Oh, I can't wait until she sees it.
She's like, we got to do some decorating.
The bedspread is 100% the American
100%.
flag. There's just blankets everywhere. Every photo, it's just like bald eagles, just absolutely everywhere. Like
I was
his
thinking about shaving my
doorbell.
head because I love the bald eagle so much.
But on top of it all, everybody, this man, not only is everything red, white, and blue that he wears, his back is tattooed.
Stop! No, that's not tattoos.
Oh, just,
That's a sunburn, babe.
Are you sure?
Yes, it's a sunburn. He did that. You can see it.
I thought it was a tattoo.
No, they put sunscreen in the form of a flag so that he got burned.
To look like the American flag. That's how much this man, he's like, burn me in the red, white, and blue.
I want it to be burned in. Dude, that's a gnarly burn, by the way. That burn is
it's intense. That's why I thought it was a tattoo.
Hospitalized
I was like,
level.
that's a wild tattoo. No, but I have something to say about JP. So you're talking about him being bland, milky, right?
Yeah.
When I looked at his Instagram,
party boy.
JP loves America, and JP loves a beer,
IPAs.
and JP loves to rage.
He loves a pool party.
Every photo was him doing like
keg stands,
fucking, ripping beers, doing like shotgunning parties, Speedo with his American flag hat on, just ripping booze.
Just a frat boy forever.
Frat boy deluxe. And his energy is so just like, yeah, Taylor, I'll be your sugar butt. My mom, she gave birth to me, dipped me in sugar. I'm just like, okay, I think...
Maybe he's one of those guys that when he drinks, he comes out.
Oh, interesting.
Like he's super chill.
But you think that he'd be like drinking in the pods.
That's true. Why they drink? Yeah, maybe he's just chill guy.
Maybe he's like the guy at the party who doesn't talk, but he just like rages with everyone.
He's 100% the guy who still just parties with his high school friends forever.
Oh, for sure.
Because that's how you get friends early on, 100%. You know, I mean, let's just go right to it.
You know he's got a wild nickname at the fire station.
Oh my God. Some nickname that's just brutal, and like some nickname that's so inappropriate, but it's that you don't know it's inappropriate. They're like, oh, he's the hedgehog. And you're like, what's that? And you're like, well, you don't talk about the hedgehog and what he does. You know what I mean? Like, that is some gross shit. You know, like, you know, he's a wild man, but like the name is like, we don't even talk about that. But okay, so I want to get right to the reveal. Do you feel like there's much more to talk about between them two?
We'll talk about, Taylor and him for a sec.
Okay.
Okay,
but the whole thing was milquetoast. I mean, I can't even like remember anything they did.
Well, okay, but him and Taylor did not. There seemed to be no drama. They were like pretty much together from the get. Like, in fact, JP wasn't a big talker, but my goodness, he opened up with Taylor. He really opened up with Taylor, and he shared some like seriously traumatic things in his past. Yes. You know, like it was intense, and hope he's doing the therapy and all that stuff. But he opened up to her, and he was like crying, and he was like, I don't like to cry, but he was crying. And then after that, from that point, he was like, she cracked him open, and he was just bawling the whole time when he proposed to her, bawling. Like, she opened him up, and I get it. Like I said, she did a lot of work where she was like laying him up with all the questions, and she is very warm and very charming as well. The thing about Taylor that I was a little concerned about was at the very beginning, she had an ITM that was super emotional, where she talked about how she has really struggled with self-love, and that for a long time she didn't love herself. And it was really heartbreaking. And then she talks about how just in recent years she started to love herself. And, you know, we're watching. I'm just like, oh my God, Taylor, you were so lovely and whatever. And it was a beautiful moment. But then there was a quick blip in another ITM where she said her big struggle has always been like being too judgmental physically. Yes.
That she always like chose off of looks.
So as soon as she said that, I was like, uh-oh. JP, handsome guy, you know, I feel like we give him a little bit of a haircut, a little style makeover.
JP's problem is not that he's an unattractive guy. JP's problem is that his haircut and his style really doesn't help. Like, he's really hurt. He's hurting his image with the way that he dresses and his haircut.
Like, he's a young man, but he's dressing like a much older man.
Like a 58-year-old guy who's just retired and was over it. We do a little bit
of styling with JP's hair. We give him like a little bit of a clothing makeover, and it'd be like, oh damn, JP. Right. And my thing was, maybe JP, as JP is like totally Taylor's type, but I felt like Taylor was always very like glam. Yes. She had her like fake eyelashes on. She was always looking so cute in her little fits. I'm like, she wants a stylish boy. JP is red, white, and blue, not stylish boy. I'm like, I'm concerned about
Styles for losers, you know what I mean, kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna go, like, you like fashion nerd? You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of got that energy a little bit.
He's saying Styles for losers.
I'm saying him is like style. Guys and style? No, dude, that's lame. Yeah, you know what I mean? He's kind of got that frat boy vibe.
Totally. So I'm like, I'm then concerned. I'm like, uh-oh. So he proposes, they have the reveal. And the reveal was...
It was tough. It was tough because it was so real.
It was so real, and I was absolutely sweating. JP, speaking of the US of A, the man was shot out of a cannon. Like, that
Bro, man, he kissed her like it was like there was a bomb going off. Like, you know, it's like the MacGyver when they're like, MacGyver, we only have 20 seconds left. He kissed like it was a MacGyver scene. Like, we gotta hurry up and kiss before we all get blown to smithereens. You know, that's how he kissed. It was like, it was like first, you know, the first kiss shows where they like,
yes,
that's what he did. He grabbed her and kissed her like it was so quick and weird. And not only that,
his body like didn't move, but he like his upper body didn't move, and he like sped at her like before she could even blink, and then grabbed her and kissed her so fast with no zhuzh. It was just bam, and she's like, God, knocked out. Like, I swear to God, it almost looked like he knocked her out like three times with like the kisses. She, you can tell, is a little thrown off, and then when they sit down, he like rushes her over, and she's like, feel my heart, and he like smacks his hand on her chest, and you know,
nice boobs. I mean, I like boobs.
The man was so nervous.
He was so nervous.
And I was just like, this is rough. And she, bless her, was doing everything in her power to be like very warm and sweet, and was like, you're nervous, it's okay. And she was trying.
She was doing the thing like if you were to go to a hotel room and then you're going, you know, honestly, I don't even like ocean views. I think a view of the parking lot actually is kind of nice because, you know, you're not dealing with, like, she was kind of like doing this, like, I'm going to be with you forever and it's going to be amazing and we love each other so much and you are so handsome and everything is so great.
Yes.
And my God, we're going to be together forever and like this is forever and we love each other.
And she was really trying to be, she was very much trying to be sweet and make him feel comfortable.
She was trying to convince herself to not do the thing you always do, which is care about the way someone looks.
Yeah.
And then she made the comment about the gap tooth. And then she made a comment in the
ITMs and she was just like, listen, like, you know, I'm not doing the whole thing about caring about what people looks like. I love this experiment because, you know, normally like I wouldn't, you know, he's got a gap in his tooth and normally I'd be like, pass. And that's ridiculous. And I'm like, oh no, which I love a gap in a tooth. But like, I was like, oh no, Taylor. And
I didn't even notice he had a gap in his tooth. I was like,
no, I didn't either. But she then was there and I'm like, oh no, she is not into him physically. No, and she's like trying and the thing is too, I mean, I saw that coming because
you
again,
just felt it.
But I just saw just how she dresses and styles and is glam. I'm like, she's gonna want a guy who is also glam.
Yes.
Like she's gonna want a guy who
or just has nice style.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
There was another element too that she said, which was,
and I'm like, oh no.
She goes, there was a lot of awkward silence when I met him. And there was a lot of awkward silence in the pods, but I just thought that wouldn't be as awkward in person. But you know, it's fine. We're going to be together forever. And it's like, oh no, y'all aren't going to make it past one day.
I'm imagining what she was picturing was him in the pods taking a long pause and like smoldering. Like I imagine him being like her being asking him a question and in the pods, he's like what's actually happening is he goes, yeah. What she's imagining is him being like, yeah. And like licking his lip and being like, I'm thinking about you, baby.
Smoking a cigarette like, you know, Marlon Brando or something like that. Like he's thinking that he goes, yeah. And he's doing it in a mysterious way, but he's really just going, yeah.
Like wiping his eyes at the American flag.
But then we see a preview.
Yeah, and we don't know for sure.
We don't know, but he said something to the effect of like,
we hear him say, it was something like, we hear him say, well, it just comes off as fake. And then she was like, yeah, but you know what I looked like before. You didn't know what I looked like before, or something like that. So clearly it seems like he's having an issue with her physicality or something. Which is interesting,
because the first thing we see is that she's having an issue.
Which, I'm going to fight you. JP, I'm also wondering, too, I'm like, is it... Because she made a comment about like her fake eyelash coming off, and I'm like, is JP the type of person who's gonna like shame her for wearing the amount of makeup she wants to wear and putting on her false eyelashes? Because you know I'm gonna come out and fight for my false eyelash community.
Wait, those are false? Shut up. I don't even know you.
You know that I'm coming out and be like, if when I hear a man make a comment about makeup, oh, I'm coming out swinging. So that was a little bit the vibe that I was getting from that comment, is like there's going to be a thing that like he doesn't maybe like.
The fact that she
like, you know, like has her makeup routine and does her like contouring or whatever. Yeah. That's the vibe I'm getting. Ooh. And she's crying and I'm like, oh my God, is he shaming her about something?
I wouldn't be shocked from the vibe. You know what I mean? We'll see. Yeah. America.
I'm not loving the vibe. He seemed like a nice guy.
He did seem like a nice guy.
But you know, also like wasn't getting a ton, and also the whole a million American flags. You know, I have my thoughts. You know. So you know, it's you know, it's hard not to be like, okay, well, right. You know. Let's do okay.
Well, I'm excited about this. I mean, I think it's going to be lit. I cannot wait for when the new ones drop and we can see them in the wild, because that's when you really start to see people.
I am so excited, and also too like.
Oh, I mean the reveals. We've only seen one or two.
We've seen two.
We saw Izzy and Stacy, but
we saw Izzy. Which, by the way, Izzy and Stacy, we had said they were like vibing.
That seemed great.
And Izzy was so nervous.
Yeah. I like that.
He was like all over her. He was very into her physically, and I think she thought he was. I mean, he's a very handsome man. Yeah. Like I think she thought he was a hottie too.
We have one more reveal.
We have Milton and Lydia, which I predicted. Yeah. But I think that's all we're gonna get.
So I think that's all we're gonna get.
And then I think we're gonna go straight to Mexico. Now the question is, are they gonna be simultaneously following what looks like Uche going and trying to talk to Aaliyah? We also see in the preview what looks like Izzy talking and flirting to Lydia. I don't know if that's editing.
Johnie's gonna be there.
No, Johnie's not going to.
She wasn't.
Oh, she was in the preview. Yeah, I don't know if she's in Mexico though.
Okay.
But maybe they end up. I don't know.
They're gonna have to, because there's only 3 couples and there were supposed to be 5. They're gonna have to somehow kind of bring some of those people back into the concept.
I wouldn't be surprised though if they just had those 3 couples and then when they come home, they immediately have them have like a group hang.
Yeah.
But at the same time, wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden production was like, hey, surprise pool party in Mexico. We're bringing all these people back.
I hope they bring. I would love if they brought everyone back.
Me too.
Like all the people that weren't even like featured.
Me too.
Because there could be some, like I saw some very pretty people.
Oh, there were some beautiful women.
Yeah. And I was like, you throw a couple of them back in the lineup and we got some rocky territory and all of a sudden it's like, yo, what's cracking? I didn't meet you. You know what I mean? Like that's the real way to do it. Make people fall in love and then just throw them.
Well, and especially too because I don't know, maybe again, we never know because of editing, because like we saw last season, we were like, there's no way that these couples are going to work out and they've been together now for years.
Yeah.
Maybe the editing is making it look like there's no way these couples work out, because my prediction is none of them work out. But maybe producers, if that is true and it's not the editing and it all doesn't seem like it's going to vibe, maybe producers then feel that too and go, are we going to be able to get all the way to the wedding? Maybe we got to throw in. Yeah. It's gonna be wild.
I'm excited though.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited for Jerry Gary this week.
Watching
Turner, it and reviewing it next week.
BIP. So again, remember, tune in on Monday for Golden Bachelor recap and Bachelor in Paradise recap.
We start a double episode run here.
Yes, and then on Wednesday for our Love is Blind next episode's recapping. Okay, can we do a call home, because we haven't done one in a couple weeks and we really owe the family a call home. We really do.
Remember, you can always call home. Hi, Mom and Dad. My name is Rebecca. I am going into my senior year of college, and I am getting back into the dating scene. I've been single for a year after a long-term relationship ended. Very badly. So I am trying to navigate how to be a little bit more intentional about dating in a hookup culture society like college. I don't know if I even want a long-term relationship, but I really am so sick of just one-night stands. And everyone is valid. I've had my phase for the last year of that, but I kind of want to get out of it, and I'm not too sure how to go about it, how to meet people in the wild. So any advice would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Okay, so, my whole thing is like, go after what you know when it comes to socializing and meeting new people. Like, I think the more that you get into stuff you like and do, and the less you focus on like finding your person, the easier it is. So like, you like playing volleyball, join a local volleyball group. You might meet someone you like there.
Totally.
But the more you focus on finding the right person, I generally find it's like anything in life. The more you want a specific thing, the harder it is to get. The more you just move towards a direction of like your life and happiness and like passion, those things tend to line up. So it's like with finding a partner, I would always think it makes more sense just to go like, let me follow my passions. Let me dive into social interactions. Let me, try new things. Let me try things I already like. Let me just make it social. And then you're going to meet people, and you're also going to see people in environments. So you're going to meet like a person and see them with other friends, and you're going to see them doing the things. Oh, and now you guys have something in common. It's already built in, as opposed to just doing the dating thing. Then you have to kind of work backwards. You have to go like, what are you into? And see, you kind of have to try a lot of things, as opposed to like, there's nothing better than like meeting someone in the wild and then like falling for each other naturally, because then I already see how you act with your friends, with your parents, with your life, with how you act when problems arise. We've already had long conversations. Boom, now the dating, it's like you've already sped up and there's less mystery involved. So I'm just a big fan of like, be more social in general, focus less on finding someone.
Totally. I think that's 100%. I fully agree with you. I'll hit then, like, if you do meet people out and about.
Love that.
Okay, so you hit the where do you meet people, and I'll hit the maybe once you meet somebody. So you were saying, Rebecca, that like for right now, you're not feeling the one night stand energy. You don't know if you want even a long-term relationship, but like the one night stand is not what you're feeling right now. So what I would say is this. There's two things. Number one, I would focus on finding people that you have like a really fun, deep friend connection with. Like if you focus on the friendship first and you just hang around with the people that like you actually really want to hang around with, something eventually might develop. Right. And like I said before, you know, you had mentioned that you don't know even if you want to do like a long-term relationship. But when you're spending time focusing on getting to know someone as a friend, then, you know, you're not immediately like having that one night stand energy. You're getting to know them in a different atmosphere. You're spending time getting to know them, feeling like if you actually really like enjoy this person, if you guys have similar interests, beliefs, like all of these things. And then that might open up somebody who you eventually might want to hook up with that you've spent time really getting to know, and it's not just like a one night situation. And eventually, if you want it to, that might end up turning into something more long term if that's what you want. But you're creating then an environment for yourself that's like, I'm here to make friends.
Yeah.
You know, I'm here to make friends, and you can get to know me as a friend. And I think that's always a great foundation. Meeting someone as a friend is a great foundation for eventually a relationship with them if you want one, a safe sexual relationship if you're just looking for the sexual piece of it. I think that's something that you could focus on. And then also, I think something that's super important is you being like super direct in communication if it's going there. I know it can feel like really intimidating being like, I'm going to be very direct, but if you feel like you are wanting to maybe explore sexually with someone, but you're not wanting it to be a one night stand and you've spent time maybe getting to know them a little bit, I would be very direct being like, hey, I'm not looking for a one night situation. Yeah. So if that's, you know, what you're interested in, we can stay friends, and that's purely it. Yeah. But being very communicative about what you want, just communicating 100% what you want, what you're looking for. And I think if you are communicating that, you're putting out the energy of this is what I'm looking for, I think that
I agree. It's not easy. So like sympathizing with you there. It's not easy. You know, it sounds easy. It's always like, I don't know, just go to that cool thing,
right,
and
then
meet
that
amazing person, and everything
like,
works out. So it's like, don't think that, you know, like there isn't like an understanding there of, but I would say like the more you focus on something, the more it tends to kind of slip through the fingers. Just kind of like enjoy people and friendships, and then I think things will come together.
The thing I like about your idea of like focusing on things that you like, and then maybe you meet someone there, is that then it's kind of a win-win.
Takes care of a lot of it.
You know, it's a win-win for you because then you're diving into a hobby or an interest or friends that you really enjoy. And so if you don't meet someone there, oh well, you had a great time. You're learning a new craft, a new hobby, whatever. It's all positive. But if the focus is just like, I'm looking to meet somebody, and then you don't meet somebody, then it's disappointing. Yes. And the other way, you can, you know,
it feels like success and failure, as opposed to just like when you go hang out with your friends, you're not thinking success and failure. You're just
enjoying your friends.
Yeah.
So,
well, we love you all.
We love you all, and we will see you on Monday. Come hang with us on Monday.
Love you all.
We love you. Bye.